Thank you so much. It is an honor and privilege to hear from you in this room, on this stage.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure.
This is a deeply personal moment for us because I have 100 questions for you, Maria Corina, but I know there will be a day when you might be able to be here. I hope there will be a day where I can ask those questions. But that day is not today, because I have someone here who is more familiar with the peace process, who is also familiar with B2B software, who shared your journey, who shared the fight, and who also shared the sacrifice. It's your daughter, Anna Corina.
Thank you. Bienvenida, Mami. Makes me really happy to have you here today. It's been almost 2 years since we last saw each other. You've been barred from leaving Venezuela for more than a decade. Today, you're in hiding in an undisclosed location inside the country with constant threats to your life. I don't know where you are today, nor when we'll see each other again. Yet even in isolation, you have never stopped fighting. Every single day, you're working to free Venezuela and our people, since as long as I can remember. Can you tell us what is happening in Venezuela right now and what brought us to this moment?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very honored and excited to have the opportunity to share all our journey with you. After 26 years of devastation, Venezuela is finally at the threshold of freedom. Venezuela certainly used to be the freest and richest country in our region. And now it has turned into one of the poorest, with over 86% of our people living in poverty. When the regime took over the country, they took power, they started by taking over institutions. They destroyed the judiciary system and the rule of law. Currently, Venezuela is in the last place worldwide in rule of law. And they kept going. They took over the media, private companies. More than 1,500 companies were confiscated and expropriated. They took over the armed forces to control society. And as Carson said, that forced almost 9 million people to flee our country, dividing our families. But in 2023, we decided to tear down those barriers that were dividing our society, to reach out to our people and to unite around values that identify our society: dignity, human dignity, justice, freedom, and certainly love. And that was, that longing that we want our children back home is what united a country and turned this into a huge civic movement, cultural movement, a social movement that made possible what everybody thought was impossible. And it was to defeat the regime, to have a great victory through citizen organization, through discipline and technology.
Thank you. So technology and data are shaping the course of history, and they can be used for perverse ends, to control, silence, and oppress. But they can also be used to liberate, to amplify truth, and to mobilize people. The story of Venezuela's presidential elections of last year was a powerful example of that. Can you walk us through that movement you built and how you and your team harness the power of technology and data to defend democracy and protect the will of the Venezuelan people?
We are very proud of what we were able to achieve and what we're doing right now. Actually, in Venezuela, we use technology as a force for freedom. It has been our tool to outsmart the regime and to expose the truth. And that's, the essence of democracy. Because after more than, 25 years with more than 30 sham elections that were more and more fraudulent every time, we knew this was our last chance. We had to win, but most importantly, we need to prove our victory. And that required turning this huge social movement into a robust organization that could be present in every single polling station, defend the will of the people, collecting every single original physical tally sheet, digitize them, and show them to the world, for the world to see, for us to see. So that meant creating a huge network of organized and trained people. We called it 600K, yes, 600,000 people that were trained in basement churches, in hiding, because the regime couldn't notice what was being building. We had no media, we had no resources, no money at all. You know how much we spent in ads and publicity? Zero. This was totally grassroots. And we created our own digital infrastructure for democracy. That meant encrypted apps so that all those 600 people could communicate and get trained and get indications. We created apps for people to actually collect the QRs, capture the QRs with the results in real time. We had hundreds of Venezuelan volunteers in our diaspora working in calling centers to audit the process. And then we created 150 geo-localized, in an optimized manner, processing centers in which we smuggle Starlink antennas, power generators, scanners, and in less than 24 hours after the election day, we had over 85% of all those original tally sheets scanned and publicized in this super robust website for the whole world to see. And this was certainly the turning point in our history for freedom. We're still fighting. Venezuela will be free, but certainly we believe we have created a blueprint for electoral processes, not only against authoritarian regimes, but also for democracies.
What happened in Venezuela last year becomes even more extraordinary when you put it into context. We have the largest proven oil reserves in the world, and we're ranked top 10 globally in natural gas reserves. Venezuela should be the powerhouse for data centers and AI, yet power outages remain a daily reality for Venezuelan people, and we now have one of the lowest internet penetrations in Latin America. Yet our country is on the brink of a political transition where we're beginning to envision, almost feel that next chapter of our country. As we look into that future, Mom, how do you see technology playing a role in the reconstruction of Venezuela? And how do we make sure it is never again weaponized against our people?
Yes. It is extraordinary what the Venezuelan people have done. But what I'm most passionate and excited about is what comes next. Because it is true that our democratic institutions have been devastated, destroyed, and millions have left. But Venezuela, as you said, not only has, unique natural endowments, resources, and it has an unparalleled geographic location in the heart of the Americas. But most importantly of all, we have our people. I dare to say Venezuela is the most cohesive society in the region, perhaps in the world. 90% of our people want the same. We want to live with prosperity, with justice, with dignity, with freedom. So, and paradoxically, I believe the fact that, everything is so devastated that we have the opportunity to start from scratch with no frictions to the degree of transformation that we will build, because we are going to design the most transparent, connected, and citizen-centered democracy in the world. And, it's going to be totally decentralized, irreversible transparency where citizens can have secure digital identity, instant access to services. Every government transaction will be visible in real time. We'll have open data and blockchain mechanisms for citizens to audit power, and a state-of-the-art privatization platform so that every citizen can be clear of how we will open markets and transform our country, and we will get sure that technology is never again used as a weapon against our people. So this is a revolution on dignity. We will prove that a nation can rise from tyranny and become the most transparent, innovative, and productive and accountable democracy. So I end up saying that I believe Venezuela is the next global frontier for innovation and wealth creation.
Yes, it will be. Mm-hmm. Mama, congratulations. You've just received the Nobel Peace Prize. What an incredible honor. And I don't think there are words to describe how proud I am of you. And I've been asked multiple times how it felt like as a family when we received the news, and of course it caught us all by surprise. But it was frankly a bittersweet moment. On one hand, it is the highest recognition anyone can receive. It was a recognition not only to your fight, but to Venezuela's fight. But on the other hand, it was a stark reminder of the long and painful journey we've lived through as a nation, and of the many sacrifices we've had to make as a family for these last 20 years. What does this prize mean to you personally, and why, as you've told me before, it honors a universal cause that goes far beyond Venezuela's borders?
Well, first of all, on a personal side, this certainly is a humbling and very emotional moment, and it is a recognition to millions of people that have given everything for their love for their family, their love for freedom, and their love for homeland. It is a recognition to thousands of political prisoners, their family, human rights defenders that have been so brave speaking out. It is a recognition to every single Venezuelan that has been forced to leave their country but are longing to come back. It's a recognition to their mothers and fathers that stayed back so that their children can join us and reunite in a great country. And it comes in a unique moment because it has boosted this huge energy to finally finish our job, our mission, to conquer freedom. But certainly, it, as I've said, it honors a universal cause, because the Venezuelan civic movement for democracy is in essence a fight for truth. It is also the defense of human dignity. And certainly it is a precedent for the rest of the world, for others, in terms of see us as a mirror, a warning sign that nations should have safe words to defend weakening democracies. So at the end, this prize is a powerful statement that courage in the face of oppression really matters. It is a statement that peace requires freedom, and that freedom requires strength, moral strength, spiritual strength, and certainly physical strength. And Venezuela will be free, and we will bring you, our kids, back home. Thank you.
Gracias, Ma, por venir. I know that one day, and I feel it closer than ever before, I will see you again in freedom. Gracias.
Thank you.